Hey, hello, today I'm going to make broccoli cheddar soup. I'm going to start off with some broccoli. I got some nice organic broccoli at the store. It's rather expensive, but like I always say, organic is always better than non-organic because it always tastes better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these heads, and I don't need them that big, I need them small. So I'm going to just cut them. I've already cut up some other for the rest of the head, and I've already stuck it in a bowl or in a pan that's been placed on high heat with a little bit of water in the bottom of the pan, and I'm going to boil that, and as soon as it starts to boil, I'm going to put a lid on it and reduce the heat. So this is a stem. I use the whole broccoli, I don't throw the stems away. I'm going to peel them like that, take off some of the icky green parts, just be careful, don't get your fingers there. So if the green part's a little bit more tough, so if you try to eat those, it's a little bit more woody tasting. So we'll just get rid of that nice inside. I'm just going to slice those up. Watching your fingers again. Don't want to have to go to the hospital. So I'm going to stick those in the pan, which is on high. As you can see, I have a whole pan of broccoli. And at the moment, that is starting to heat up and starting to get hot. I'm going to throw a little bit of salt and pepper in with it. Not much, just a little, just to cook it in there. Okay, now what I'm going to do is put the lid on it. I'm going to let that cool down, or turn down. Oops. Helps if I'm more prepared. Okay, so I'm going to take the lid. It's boiling. You might be able to hear that. I'm just going to stick the lid on it. Now if I leave the lid on it like that and let it cook like that, it's going to boil all over the place. I'm going to turn it down to about 3. Now those need to boil and steam for approximately 10 minutes to get them nice and mushy. Now this other one, my other big pan here, I'm going to put in 3 tablespoons of butter. Okay, or some other kind of animal fat if you don't have that. But I like butter. Butter is far superior to vegetable oil. Basically because butter's not genetically altered, and all your vegetable oils are. Unless they say organic, you can pretty much guarantee you're eating some genetically modified stuff here. So as you can see, this is on about medium-high heat, and it's getting nice and foamy, and it's going to melt up. And when it melts up, I'm going to put in 3 tablespoons of flour. That's plain old organic flour, unbleached. And the one thing about flour is that it all my stuff here. The difference between bleached and unbleached is bleached has been bleached with bleach. Unbleached hasn't. But the thing about unbleached is that it will turn white after like a couple months. So if you buy unbleached flour, you know, unless you're going to use it all the time and make all kinds of stuff, and even if you do, it still is good because it's still the same stuff. It just doesn't have chlorine bleach in it. It automatically turns white. So you can, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it just turns white. That's what happens. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to sprinkle it in here, and I'm going to take a fork and move this around so I can cook off the raw taste of this flour. So I use 3 tablespoons of butter. That means I'm going to use 3 tablespoons of flour. And I found that whole wheat flour doesn't make a very good soup because it will turn kind of grainy. I think it might have something to do with the whole grain. So I got the refined flour. You know, it might not be as good for you, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to make a soup here. It's going to taste fabulous. So I'm going to cook this for about 2 or 3 minutes. I'm going to get it kind of brown, and then I'll be back. Okay, so as I'm cooking, waiting for my flour and butter mixture to cook up just a little bit more. This will take about 3 or 4 more minutes. In the meanwhile, what I've done is taken 3 cups of milk, 2 of which I stuck in this bowl, stuck it in the microwave, and heated it up for about 1 minute and 30 seconds. Okay. For me, I used 1 cup half and half, and then 2 cups of regular 1%. Now you can use whatever combination you want. You can use heavy cream, you can do all 3 cups worth, you can do 3 cups half and half, you can do 3 cups water if you wanted. It just won't be as creamy and as thick. Okay, so this is starting to get really brown. And actually let it go just another minute. Okay, but what I want to do is preheat this a little bit. I have 2 cups in here and I have 1 cup on the side here. That's cold. Then I have also grated up 8 ounces of Monterey Jack and 8 ounces of medium sharp cheddar. Okay, so when I do this, I'm going to take this off the heat and I'm going to use my milk, and I'm just going to pour the whole thing in there. Stir it up carefully because that is hot, and then I'm going to stick it right back on here. I'm going to continue to stir this, and I need this to come up to a boil, but I don't want it to come up to a really fast boil, but it definitely needs to boil. When you're working with flour, in order for the flour to thicken, it has to be heated to a boiling point. Now, if you're working with something delicate, say like a pudding or something like that you can't really boil those eggs that you have in that pudding, you'd use cornstarch instead. Cornstarch just needs to be heated up a little bit, but it doesn't boil, so that way you don't cook your eggs. So here, I'm just going to heat this up until it boils. If it gets too thick, I'm going to add some more of the milk to it. So I'll be back in a couple minutes. So the soup has not boiled yet, but you can see when I'm taking my spatula across like that, you can see that when I go like that, you can see the bottom of the pan. That means it's starting to thicken up a little bit. So what I'm going to do, because it's that thick already without the 3rd cup of milk mixture, I'm going to go ahead and put that extra cup in now, and because I know it's going to be pretty thick. So with you, depending on what you want. Sometimes on a humid day it's not as thick, and sometimes on a really dry day it's thicker, and flour is a funny thing that way. So I'm going to heat this up again. I'm not heating up very fast, I'm just on medium heat here. And I'm going to just continue to stir that occasionally. Now my broccoli has been back here boiling away. You can see that, nice and green. I need this to get really soft because otherwise the soup's going to have crunchy bits in it. I don't want crunchy bits in it. So I'm going to let that get soft, and that way when I put it in the soup and stir it around, it'll just kind of break apart and have little green chunks in it. It'll taste really good. Okay, so this has now started to boil. It looks really lovely. So what I'm going to do now is put in the cheese, and I'm just going to take that, I'm going to drop it in a little bit at a time. Now I've turned the heat off on here so that so I don't really want to boil the cheese. I just want the cheese to melt. You can see how well that melts as it goes in there. I'm just going to dump all that in. Again, and then just stir it gently. And by the time this all melts, then it should be thick enough or ready for the broccoli to just be poured in here too. And you can see that's really thick. Okay. That might be, after this melts, I might decide to go ahead and add a little bit more milk to this, depending on how thick I want that to be. I'm thinking I'm going to add just probably another 1/2 cup of milk to this here, just to thin it out just a little bit. Oh, you know what? Maybe I won't. I'm just going to stick in the broccoli. The broccoli will have some moisture to it, and then I'm going to wait after that and see what happens. So I'm just going to... That's my broccoli. And you can see, just by poking that, how nice and tender that is. And you can see how much that has cooked down, too. That was all the way full to the very top. So I'm just going to drain that a little bit, and then just dump it right in there. Whoops, sorry. And I stir it around. That does not look lovely. Oh my goodness, that looks so good. And it's also thinned it down just a tad bit. I've turned the heat off, so it shouldn't thicken up too much more. It might thicken a little bit. Now, at this point, you could do a whole bunch of stuff with this. You could eat just like this, or you can make up some elbow macaroni, probably about 5 cups of it. You could pour this over the top of that, stick it in the oven for a bit, heat it all up. That would be lovely too. For me, I'm just going to have, what am I going to have? I'm going to have fried pork chops. And with this on the side. So, oh yeah, don't forget a little bit of salt and pepper. Costing on this The broccoli was about $2, and because it's organic, it's a little bit more expensive, maybe a little bit less than that. The cheese, that one's pretty expensive. It's like $3 total for a total of 1 pound of cheese, 8 ounces of mozzarella, or excuse me, 8 ounces of Monterey Jack, and 8 ounces of medium cheddar. The milk product's probably about $1. So anyway, to me, it's worth every single penny. Nothing in here is artificial, and this is going to taste really good.